Hi world, it's the 7th of February 2021. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon UK time. I don't often get very emotional, at least not in public. And when I do, I try not to let it show. I did a workshop the other night to my students in part of a teaching module. I did it on Saturn. And that's now available on my website to stream for those of you that are interested in it. One of the things that came up was the notion of the Saturn return every 29 to 30 years. And I kind of just got on with that and did it. Great, okay. A couple of nights ago on television, I happened to see, which to me, one of the 2 or 3 greatest movies of all time. It's a movie that made me cry out loud the first time I saw it because I got so engrossed in it. And every time I've seen it, including a couple of nights ago, I ended up in floods of tears because it is so emotive. I don't cry that much. And it is 29 to 30 years since the movie was first published. The movie in question is the movie called Awakenings. And it starred both Robert De Niro and Robin Williams. Now I'll talk about the movie in a minute, but let's just keep a little bit of astrology involved. Robert De Niro, Leo, was very strong Sun sextile Saturn. He's still with us, still going strong. And he'll be with us for at least another 10 years because he's got longevity running through his chart. Leo with Cancer rising. Moon in the early mid part of Pisces. Robin Williams, sadly no longer with us. Cancer with Scorpio rising. And Moon in early mid Pisces. Robin Williams and Robert De Niro had the Moon, both of them had it in Pisces about 4 to 5 degrees apart from each other. So I suggest, even though I don't know this, that they found it very easy to work with each other, very easy to be in each other's company, and hopefully became good friends. Robert De Niro's chart has success written all over it, as does Robin Williams. But Robin Williams, with such a strong Neptune opposite his Jupiter, never able to achieve the impossible targets of happiness and success that he set for himself. And with an element of compulsiveness in his chart. It's a tragic story, tragic loss. One of the nicest human beings ever to have lived. In the movie, Robin Williams plays Oliver Sacks, whom in the 1960s experimented in a care hospital that he was working in with a bunch of people who had been catatonic since a bout of sleeping illness pushed them into a coma in the late 1920s. And by experimenting with a new drug, he brought them out, dopamine. He brought them out of that coma in the 1960s, and the first one he tried it with was a character played by Robert De Niro. And to actually see these people who had been treated like lumps of meat for 30 years, just absolutely locked in, no movement, no recognition whatsoever, but still there somewhere inside themselves. To see these people, and especially Robert De Niro, slowly wake up and regain consciousness and then achieve full functionality, only after a few months for the side effects of the medicine to start kicking in a much worse way, and to watch them then slip slowly and inevitably back into catatonia is incredibly moving. And it's very tragic when you see these people who have been in a kind of coma for 30 years wake up for a few months and then slip back into that coma where they stayed for the rest of their lives. And the only difference that was made is that after this, the carers in the institution where they were in stopped treating them like lumps of meat and started treating them like human beings, even though they were unresponsive. In this last year, we've been through a hell of a thing with the coronavirus, which it may be now that we're just beginning to see the first signs of coming out of it in a way that hopefully will be permanent this time. Not permanent forever, because of course it's going to come back in different shapes and forms, but it does seem as if the biggest crises are now coming to an end. as the astrology did predict. But the way in which we've treated the most vulnerable people, not just in our own communities, but on the planet. And in the country I live, Britain, we vaccinated more people now pro rata than any other country in the world except Israel. Thing is, when I see that in Britain 11 million people have been vaccinated, whether you like the vaccine or not, and no, I haven't, not yet. And in Africa, in the whole of the continent of Africa, 25 people have been vaccinated. It makes me question the value of human life and how much value has an individual. And what do we value humanity on? Is it how much they can earn, how many taxes they can pay, how wealthy they are, how well connected they are? Well, the answer is yes to all that, because that's the way that capitalism's been. And it seems to me that humanity's in a bit of a mess at the moment, and I can't see it getting better, to be honest. We do seem to be in some type of long-term extinction event where the capitalism of the last 150 years has pretty much doomed our future. And perhaps the only way out of this now, unless we do a complete reversal of economic policies, which just isn't going to happen because the greed can't just stop, is to continue individually, regardless of our age, growing spiritually and learning to evolve outside and beyond and above the limits of our existence so far, to develop a more quasi-spiritual attitude, to evolve spiritually to heights and to expand our awareness and evolve into a broader spectrum of existence. I'm deliberately being vague on this because I don't want to attract too much negativity. But those of you who are already interested in consciousness expansion will know what I'm on about. But to quote Gandhi, or to paraphrase Gandhi, the true measure of society is in how we treat our most vulnerable people. And greed and profit above all other is the antithesis of this. Gandhi was also asked of his position, of his impression of Western civilization, and he said something like, "I'll let you know when they find it," which made me laugh when I saw that one. But we're now heading into a different time, a different age. You know, we truly are entering into the age of Aquarius. No, I'm not going to suddenly burst into song. But you know, in a few years' time, all of the big planets are going to be in very different signs, much more proactive. There's going to be a cultural revolution in the next few years, which may or may not be too late to save the long-term future for our great-grandchildren. But speaking as an environmentalist and a committed ecologist, it seems to me the only way out of the future now is for us to take a much greater responsibility for the welfare of our planet, and that means looking after the citizens of it as well. And it's time really for an end to this nonsense around nation states and political divide, and don't even get me started on religious divides. I'm still really upset by the sexual abuse and then murder of the babies and the children in Ireland over the decades, and then the burying of all those babies. It just guts me. And then I still preach about godliness, and just a bunch of misogynistic old men and women, just like the Nazis. But for those of you, and to those of you who haven't seen that movie, Awakenings, if you can bear to watch it, you will feel a compassion. Robin Williams and Robert De Niro are two of the greatest actors of all time. Go and watch it, folks. Two classic examples of people putting the moon in Pisces into into their work. They lived those roles. Should have got far more awards than it did. Okay, just something different for a Sunday. Catch you later, world. Bye.